Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? I have used professional help to perform at my best in the cage. Now, our show sponsor, BetterHelp, can help you perform better in life. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and they'll do it within 48 hours. This is not a crisis line. This is not self-help. It is professional counseling done discreetly, online, at your convenience from anywhere in the world. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 15,000 plus counselor network. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room again. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/Chael and save 10% off your first month. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Cormier and McGregor. Now, I will tell you, this was a piece of drama that largely caught me off guard. To see Conor going after Daniel Cormier. In many ways, Daniel's like this untouchable because everybody likes him. He's the baddest dude in the room at all times, but he's also the most playful, right? So nobody ever gets mad at Daniel. It would just be really hard to do. And Conor lashed out on him. This is through Twitter. Now, Conor has since deleted the tweets, which I think is my bigger problem, right? Because now there's no way to defend Conor. I would probably have been of the mind of Conor's out there entertaining. He's doing what Conor does. Great job, Conor. I would probably make a case for McGregor. I can't do that when he deletes it because now that means that he wishes he hadn't said it. Right? There's no way for Conor's defenders to defend him when he publicly declares, I'm wrong. I wish I wouldn't have done it, which is what deleting it is. So then you're left to try to interpret and try to guess, how did we get there in the first place? Now, there is a part of the story that might be glaring, obviously, that you guys all know that I don't, which is what started this. I believe it came from a comment that Daniel made that had to do with the injury that resulted in that contest being stopped, right? The break in Conor's foot. I believe that Daniel was saying that it was checked or it wasn't checked. This seems to be a big deal to Conor. Conor has hung his hat on some very bizarre arguments. The doctor stoppage was a really important one to him, but he's also making an argument on how the injury happened. Was it a kick? Was it a check? Was it offense? Was it defense? There's something there that matters to him. I don't get it. And the foggiest idea why it matters that you lost the fight, doctor stop. I haven't the foggiest idea how your foot got broken in half, or as to what the relevance would be when the end result is this fight is stopped because your foot was broken in half. Great. It sounds like we're all saying the same thing, but Conor is getting very specific on how he wants that worded. And there's something about the way that Daniel worded it that Conor didn't like. And it has to do with this check business. Like I've heard Conor say that before. He even said at the ring at the time, there's something with this check business that he wants acknowledged for what it was. Okay. So he comes out at Daniel and he says, that Daniel's looking sloppy. And then he said that Daniel was drinking the day before at a media event. Is that fireable? I think he even used the word sackable. So there's multiple problems here, right? Because I always come to you from a standpoint of give McGregor some slack. He's entertainer. He's an entertainer who's out entertaining. I lose that argument when he deletes it. As soon as it gets deleted, it's no longer out there. There is no longer an entertainment. That is a form of an apology. That is a form of an admission of guilt. So now I, as a Conor defender, I can't take that stance. So what do I stand on? I then have to look at it from the standpoint of Mr. Entertainer is now a snitch. Daniel did not show up to anything drunk, guys. Do not mistake that. Let's say he did. Conor said he did. Conor's now a snitch. He tattled on him? You tattled on one of the boys? Did he do anything wrong? Was he obnoxious? Was he unruly? No. Okay, well then how did you know? Well, I just know, I could smell it. Then you're a snitch. Why'd you tattle on him? Particularly from a guy who's in the business of selling alcohol and shows up at press conferences with a whiskey right on the desk. Not great. Daniel did not do this. Sharing with you that now I've got a snitch. Now I'm going to try to defend a snitch, which has been one of Conor's great allegations from day one. He's called people rats, or now he's a tattletale. The whole thing's just very weird. So Daniel comes back. He fires back at Conor. Daniel wins the day. Daniel says, hey, don't worry about me. Don't worry about Daniel Cormier. Worry about all those guys that keep kicking your ass every time you get in the octagon. Okay, great. Point Daniel. Daniel comes out on top of this thing. Daniel does not delete it because Daniel is not a coward. It puts me in a tough spot. It really does. I feel, right or wrong, attached to Conor's career. I feel as though I understand him on a way that others don't, and therefore it's incumbent on me to come out and explain, to come out and smooth it over. I've still got hope. Of the pie, there is a portion of it that is ever dimming that does lend to the possibility that he's an entertainer. I lose that when he deletes. There's a part of me that also sees a guy who's marking out for his own gimmick. And as human beings, we are whoever we pretend to be. And the great actors, I'm talking about the award winners that go and get recognized by the SAG at the end of the year, by their fellow peers who voted for them and elevated them. They will become the person they are portraying. You will see a guy that does a great job in a Western, but he's not actually a cowboy. He doesn't actually ride a horse around. He's got a 6-shooter on his hip, but he did for that character and he believed it. You'll see some of the greats like Matthew McConaughey that have to lose weight for a role, and they will actually do it. They will go and lose 40 pounds. They will go and become that person. You will see people that have to play homeless or somebody like in concentration camp, tough situation, and they will wear less clothing, eat less food, sometimes sleep in bad conditions just to get ready for the role. They will become that person. But as soon as they quit, you walk away, you go back to your normal life, and you wait to get the next script. It's an advantage that an actor has because it ebb and flows and it moves all the time. When you're an entertainer in the world of sport, and it's the same character and the same gimmick day in and day out, you don't get a new script. Over time, if you become very good into that character, you will mark out for your own gimmick. You will forget where the act ends and the real begins. And I'm seeing a side of Conor who has preached for years that he will stand alone. He has no friends. It's him versus the world. Ireland versus everybody. That is a great storyline. It's the very storyline that Stone Cold Steve Austin used. Stone Cold wasn't with the heels and he wasn't with the bad guys. He didn't like the heels and he didn't like the good guys. He hated them all. He stood alone. It had never been done before. There was no character that was ever developed like that. The bad guys with the bad guys, the good guys with the good guys. Stone Cold stood alone and flipped them both off. It had never been done. The closest that we've ever seen in MMA is the Diaz boys. Everybody gets treated the same. You're part of the scrap pack or you're everybody else. Great marketing. It works. Conor was playing that same role, but it appears now that he's starting to think that he actually could do it by himself, which he can't. He can't. If I had any advice I could give Conor, it would be just to stop with this McGregor sports, whatever that is. Talking about going out and promoting a fight. He will lose all of his money. It will be like Brewster's Millions. He will be broke instantly. He does not know what he's doing. And he will never learn because there's 3 or 4 people alive that know how to do it, and it's a closed-mouth business. They're never going to tell you. Now, I share that with you because the lane that he's in, if he stays in it, is a beautiful lane made out of gold. It's a wonderful spot. But as I see him starting to mark out for his own gimmick, if there's any part of him that believes he can do this on his own, he's wrong. He's wrong. I will personally make a dent in Conor McGregor if I never talk about him again. Personally, I'm one guy. If I never say the words Conor McGregor again, I will personally, directly make a dent in the empire. This sport only has 4 voices. It's got 4 voices, okay? You got Anik and Florian. You got Brendan Schaub, who largely covers boxing and Bellator. You have Joe Rogan, who you're never going to get a hold of. You have Michael Bisping, who does a damn good job. And you got me. Next lesson in this, don't ever say there's 4 and then count them out and you end up with 5. You should probably get that math done ahead of time or you look like a little bit of a fool. But my point is the same. It's a very small environment. So you are playing a game constantly to win those voices over. You're playing a game constantly to get to more press conferences, more time on ESPN, break into SportsCenter, be friends with Kellerman, be able to get a hold of Stephen A., know Glenn Jacobs' phone number, right? I mean, there's some things that you got to do if you're going to navigate this sport. And if you believe that you're going to do it on your own, you can't. It's a great thing to say. There's a bravado in it. You just can't believe that it's actually true. And I feel as though when you start coming after one of the announcers for the organization who's going to be here long after you're gone, that it's a step in the wrong direction. I think that deleting was very wise. I think if you want to have some fun and a back and forth with Daniel Cormier, we're having a totally different conversation. This looked to be serious. There was the calling for ending Daniel's participation, right? The gloves are off. You go after a guy's livelihood. We're playing a whole nother game here. And I don't know how much sincerity was put on it. I know it still came from a standpoint of being a snitch, which isn't a wonderful thing. And when Conor's time does come and go, like everybody's, there's not very many guys that are going to be left standing. Daniel's one of them. Daniel will be left standing. Conor can get a microphone and get some real attention 2 to 3 times a year, and it's massive what he can do. Daniel will have a microphone every Saturday. So it's one of those games that you've got to be careful. And Daniel would never use the power of his position. He is too smart to do that. It's your job to acknowledge that there is some power within that position. If you think you're going to do this on your own, you're wrong. There is 5 voices out there. There was no band or pack stronger than the one I just named for you. If Rogan, Bisping, Anik, Florian, Schaub, and Chael band together and do not speak about you, your time in this sport is done. We would never do that. That's not what I'm sharing with you. We don't set up text and decide who we're going to put over or we're going to put under. I'm just sharing with you that that community is very small. And if you believe that you can do it on your own and we ever call you on it and say, well, good luck. Good luck. We're out. 5 people in the world talk about this sport that matter, that have influence. Those 5 are done talking about you just because we want to test. We just want to see how you're going to do on your own. You're not going to like how that story ends.